Hi everyone, this is Ghalib and you're watching me on YouTube. Today we are going to talk about what is happening between these Muslim apologists, Mohammad Hijab, then Daniel Hakikachu, Yasir Qazi is also involved, ICNA is involved, Yaqeen Institute is involved, and finally, the problem is Ilhan Omar and her pro LGBTQ stance. And they are, especially people like Hakika Chu and Mohammad Hijab, are looking at Ilhan Umar as someone who is not a Muslim. They are throwing her under the bus. They are talking against her. They are saying that she is pro LGBTQ. And they are also accusing ICNA and Yaqeen Institute for having her as a speaker, where her stance is totally un Islamic. And they are saying that she is just a politician. She is not an Islamic scholar. She does not reserve the right to speak for Islam. And today in this video, I'm especially going to talk about Mohammad Hijab. So, Mohammad Hijab has recently made this video in which he has accused everyone, all of these mainstream Muslim apologists that are very popular in the West, including Dr. Yasir Qadi, that they should be doing barat from Ilhan Umar, that they should be saying that they shouldn't have any kind of relation with Ilhan Umar. They shouldn't be speaking with her. They shouldn't be having her. She should not be called over at events arranged by Yaqeen Institute and ICNA as a speaker because she is pro LGBTQ and she's also a feminist. And Muhammad Hijab says that feminism and liberalism are among the many heads of the serpent, actually. So he is saying that she is basically a follower of serpent or Satan or whatever you call them. She's the one who is a follower of the snake. This is what, between the lines, if you read, this is what these guys are saying. And why are they against Ilhan Umar? Because Ilhan Umar has been at LGBTQ marches and parades, where she has been seen in LGBTQ parades and during, this is the Pride month, as you know, and also this poster of this one LGBTQ poster on which two hijabi women were shown as lesbians. So they are also angry on that as well. And they are saying that she has been seen dancing in gay parades and she's also seen dancing with these drag queens as well, which Muhammad Hijab does not like at all. So I don't agree with what Ilhan Umar does. Especially Ilhan Umar is a person who has been very lethal and very dangerous when it comes to activists who criticize Islam, because she is propelling this agenda of Islamophobia. Islamophobia is a sham term, it's a fake term that is basically used to silence people who criticize Islam. So Ilhan Umar and Linda Sarsour, both of them are at the forefront of this, that they have been there and even they have influenced the cancel culture when it comes to critiques of Islam. But on the other hand, they portray themselves as liberal and feminist, and they are pro LGBTQ rights. Even when some Palestinian in Palestine, there was something happened against the LGBTQ community. The Palestinian movement said something about the LGBTQ community. Ilhan Umar was very quick to criticize those people, and Ilhan Umar was pro LGBTQ, but Muhammad Hijab has a serious problem with it. And why Muhammad Hijab has a serious problem with it? Because for anyone watching in the West, let me tell you that Quran is as strict on homosexuality as the Old Testament. The same story of Lot that is mentioned, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah that is mentioned in the Old Testament is also mentioned in the Quran as well. And anyone who follows the Islamic faith knows that LGBTQ is there are no LGBTQ rights in Islam. Rather, there are decrees in Islam. Islamic Sharia prescribes punishment for homosexuals and gays. The punishment is once again death, and it's the way that homosexuals should be put to that death is extremely gruesome. How? That anyone who is a gay or a lesbian, according to Islamic Sharia, should be taken to the top of a very tall building and thrown down from there. And let's say if the person is thrown down and the person is still alive, then the Sharia commands that person has to be taken again atop that building and thrown again. And a homosexual should be thrown from top of a building as many times as it takes to kill the person. So homosexuality is one of the most gruesome sins according to Islam, and Islam does not consider homosexual rights to be human rights at all. So it does not give any kinds of rights to homosexuals. It does not believe that gay men can have relationship with gay men, or lesbian women can have a relationship with lesbian women, or transgenders. They don't believe that transgenders can cross dress. They don't feel that there should be drag queens or these kinds of things. Islam is absolutely homophobic, transphobic. It is even more homophobic and transphobic than most of the religions around the world. Like it would be in the top 3, definitely. It would be alongside Christianity, sitting there on the top. And this is what they feel. And if you ask a Muslim cleric what Sharia says about 2 men getting married, it's a no in Islam. 2 women getting married, it's also a no in Islam. No one can accept that according to Islam. Islamic Sharia is absolutely against LGBTQ movement and LGBTQ rights. So what Linda Sarsour and Ilhan Omar are doing is basically un-Islamic, and it even makes them, kuffar, and it makes them kafir. And Mohammad Hijab rightly points out, according to Islam. This is not my opinion. This is Mohammad Hijab's opinion, and this is what Islamic Sharia says, that anyone who would believe that homosexuality is allowed in Islam, that their faith is no longer Islamic faith, that is something else, and they are following kufr rather than Islam. And this is what Mohammad Hijab does. He says that Ilhan Omar is not a Muslim, and she should not be called to any events by ICNA or by Yaqeen Institute to speak as a Muslim speaker, because she's not a Muslim. And he says that Yasir Qadhi, ICNA and Yaqeen Institute should also do barat from Ilhan Omar, and she should not be called there. And he believes that even the hijab she wears, it is un-Islamic. The turban hijab is un-Islamic. She should be wearing the real hijab. So we can see here that what is happening here. So let me tell you what is happening here. This is the divide between liberal Islam and true Islam. Because Ilhan Omar is one of those people who is trying to liberalize Islam, who is trying to make Islam more in line with the liberal ideals of our day and our age. But people like Muhammad Hijab, Hakika Chu, Ali Dawa, and many more, they are basically following the true Sharia of Prophet Muhammad. The Sharia that is bigoted, the Sharia that is transphobic, homophobic, the Sharia that is kafrophobic, that believes that people should live in a time that was 1,400 years ago, the time of the Prophet of Islam or Sharia. And Muhammad Hijab in this video says that I have no objection with homosexuals. I accept that they exist. Accepting someone's existence is you are not doing any favor to them. The homosexuals are a reality, and people living around the world, they would have to accept this reality that they exist. But do you accept them as human beings? I would say people like Mohammad Hijab do not accept them as human beings. They are saying that in the Western world, Mohammad Hijab says that in the Western world, homosexuals can live their lives according to what they want. But he says that homosexuals and other LGBTQI people should not expect that Muslims or Islamic Sharia is going to accept them. And I also don't expect it from people like Muhammad Hijab, Daniel Hakikachu, or other extremist mullahs of this sort to accept LGBTQ rights or even women rights. Because these people are still living in the age, in that old age of 1400 years ago. And what they are trying to tell you is that Islam is just too rigid. It won't change. And it won't change. And Muhammad Hijab is saying that it's okay, homosexuals can do what they want, they can live in their countries according to their will, but there is a big but here. What is the but and what is the if here? The if is if Islam comes into power in one of the Western countries, would they allow that? Or when they make up these Sharia zones in the Great Britain or other countries across Europe, are they going to allow sexuals to live there? Are they going to torture them? Are there going to be any attacks like that on homosexuals passing through, Sharia zones as they've made in many parts of the Great Britain? Yes, they would. Because when they tell women going through these Sharia zones that they should be covering up because it's a Sharia zone, then they would also tell LGBTQ people to stay away from these areas. So Muhammad Hijab and many others like him and the people that he speaks for basically are extremists. These people are extreme. They are trying to follow that interpretation of Islam that is purely outdated. If you ask me, Islam does not belong in the 21st century. It's an outdated criminal, anti-human ideology. Sharia is basically anti-human rights. It's irrational. It's sadist. It's a painful thing to inflict upon human beings. We can see that what's happening in Afghanistan right now. So, Yasir Hakika Chu and Muhammad Hijab and many others like him, they're sitting in the West. They are enjoying everything that the West has to offer. They can benefit from the Western technology, the Western civilization, the Western liberalism that allows them to preach their hateful ideology everywhere where they go in the West. They even have the audacity to call Muslim representatives of the American Congress as a kafir or as a woman that should not be liked and should not be a role model for any young Muslim woman living in the West right now or anywhere around the world. This is what Muhammad Hijab is saying. So what do I think about Muhammad Hijab? I think he's a man full of hate. He is just up to the brink with the Islamic hatred or Islamic extremism that is there. He is a kind of very extremely arrogant Sharia monger, basically who thinks that Sharia holds solution to everything. But Sharia is an outdated, cursed, lesser human system that was made by some ignorant Bedouin that were living 1,400 years ago. And what is my take on this? I think that I don't agree with what Ilhan Omar does, but I still appreciate that she is courageous enough to speak for the persecuted LGBTQ or homosexual community that lives around the world. And, my heart goes out to all the LGBTQI people. And I do feel that they deserve all the right to celebrate their lives and their love like everyone else in the world. But does Sharia want that? Does this proponent of Sharia, like these proponents of Sharia like Muhammad Hijab and Hakika Chu, want that? No, they don't. What if they get power anywhere in the world? What would they do? They would do the same that Taliban is doing. There is no discussion for LGBTQ rights in my country, that is Pakistan, or in Bangladesh, or in Iran and other Muslim countries around the world. Do the homosexuals deserve human rights? Yes, they do. Homosexual rights and women rights are human rights. Feminism is the need of the day. LGBTQ rights are the need of the day. And women and homosexuals deserve all the rights that anyone deserves in this world. They should be allowed to celebrate their lives. They should be allowed to work and love and choose their partners as they want to. They should be allowed to wear what they want to. I don't agree with how Ilhan Umar puts herself forward, but this guy is even mocking her hijab right now. If such a comment would have come from anyone else than Mohammad Hijab, you know, or Daniel Hakikachu, that there would be a huge fuss going all over the world on the internet right now. Every liberal would be going against the person who would have mocked or who would have said that Ilhan Umar's hijab is not a good thing. Everyone would be going against such people. But because now a Muslim like Daniel Hakikachu is saying that, I'm going to make another response video about Hakikachu's comments on Ilhan Umar as well. If someone else would have said this, that person would be cancelled everywhere. But these goons, these thugs like Hakikachu and Mohammad Hijab, they wouldn't face anything, because no Muslim is going to lobby against Mohammad Hijab and Hakikachu for, making such comments against Ilhan Umar's hijab. That's the main problem right now. So hypocrisy is going on here, and the left, is again failing to see the bigotry put forward by bigots like Mohammad Hijab and Daniel Hakikachu. So this is what I had to say. This is Ghalib Kumal signing out. Bye-bye. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon to enable all notifications. You can also support me on Patreon with just $3 a month.